My wife's therapist called me intimidating over dinner. She smiled like it was a compliment. When I said it made me uncomfortable, she said I wasn't evolved enough. Today she's pregnant. I'm not the dad. I don't even know what kind of subreddit this belongs to. I've been reading these stories for years thinking, damn, at least my marriage isn't that bad. Yeah, joke's on me. I, 37M, have been married to my wife, 34F, for 9 years. We have no kids together, thank God, in hindsight. I work in network security, pretty low-key, not some macho tough guy, but apparently I give off alpha energy or whatever that means because that's what her therapist said the first time we all had dinner together. Yes, dinner. With her therapist. I know that sounds insane. She said he was more of a holistic coach and friend with a license. I thought it was weird, but I wanted to be supportive. She's been through stuff. Childhood crap, body image stuff. I thought this guy was helping her unpack all that. But then she started quoting him in arguments. Like, Brent says the way you phrase things is emotionally manipulative. Or, Brent thinks your silence is a trauma response. I was like, what? It got worse. So much worse. And I kept thinking, okay, maybe I'm just not getting it. Maybe I'm not evolved. Until last week when everything snapped into place and I realized I'd been the third wheel in my own marriage for a year. So yeah, that dinner. That was the moment everything stopped being a joke and started feeling like a fever dream I couldn't snap out of. We were at this ridiculously overpriced vegan place she found on some breathwork influencer's blog, one of those places with abstract art that looks like someone spilled turmeric on canvas and the chairs don't match on purpose, and the menu doesn't even have prices. I wasn't even hungry, but I ordered what she told me to, some fermented kale bowl with spirulina dressing because apparently it helps with emotional clarity. I was already halfway regretting agreeing to this whole thing, but I wanted to be supportive. She said Brent wanted to meet the other part of her emotional equation. Her words, not mine. And I figured, okay, weird, but maybe this is part of her process. Healing, growth, whatever. And then Brent walked in. Late, of course. Wearing this loose cream-colored shirt like he just got back from guiding a group of midlife crisis yogis through the Andes. No hello, no handshake, just this floaty presence as he made a beeline for her and wrapped her in one of those I know your soul hugs. Like the kind where both people close their eyes and just breathe into each other and you're standing there like, am I interrupting something? Then he finally turns to me, gives this thin-lipped smirk and goes, the alpha arrives. I swear to God. Like I'm some kind of Neanderthal she keeps in the shed. I let out this awkward laugh, but I felt it in my spine. This wasn't a therapist. This was a man who thought he had some kind of claim over my wife's transformation. He sits down, waves the waiter away mid-menu explanation, and orders a bottle of orange wine like we're all part of some French film where no one has jobs and everyone just feels things. And then he starts talking. Not normal dinner talk. I'm talking TED Talk meets cult leader monologue about masculine energy, sacred femininity, and how most modern relationships are fear contracts disguised as monogamy. I wish I was exaggerating. She was eating it up like it was dessert. Nodding, touching his arm when he said something deep, laughing too hard at his dumb spiritual dad jokes. I was sitting there like a ghost in my own life, just trying to not throw my overpriced microgreens across the table. At one point, he looks me dead in the eye and says, your energy's intense. Very grounded. Some might even say intimidating. And she, I kid you not, puts her hand on my knee and goes, see? That's what makes you so stable, babe. Like I was a tree they were analyzing for emotional fruit. I just clenched my jaw and smiled because I didn't know what else to do. Later, when we were driving home, I told her that dinner made me wildly uncomfortable. That Brent's vibe was off. That a therapist, her therapist, should not be ordering wine and flirting and dropping psychobabble at dinner like he's the second coming of Freud with a man bun. She didn't even blink. Just stared at me like I had disappointed her. Then she said, maybe you're just not evolved enough to understand the emotional space I'm exploring. That was when something cracked. It wasn't just about Brent anymore. It was about how far gone she was. Like I was some anchor holding her down while she tried to ascend into her higher self. And I started to feel like I was the last person in the room who realized the house was already on fire. After that night, things didn't just shift, they tilted. Everything got quieter, more performative. She started turning everyday moments into therapy sound bites. If I asked if she was okay, she'd say things like, I'm processing a lot and your energy feels invasive right now. If I didn't ask, it's interesting how you shut down when emotions surface. Like I couldn't win. And maybe that was the point. To make me feel like the bad guy for wanting my wife to just be my wife. Not this levitating moon priestess Brent was sculpting in his weird emotional pottery class. She started leaving books open for me to accidentally read. Titles like Radical Acceptance and Conscious Uncoupling. I'm not even kidding. She left one on my pillow. Highlighted. Like a damn scavenger hunt for my self-worth. That's when I realized I wasn't in a marriage anymore. I was in a narrative she was building, one where I was the unawakened partner she had to outgrow to become her full self. And the worst part? She wasn't even hiding it. So yeah, after the calendar notification popped up, inner child reclamation session, Brent's loft, I don't know, something inside me went ice cold. It wasn't even rage anymore. It was clarity. Like all the noise in my head finally went quiet and I could just see it all. The whole warped architecture of our marriage laid bare. I didn't say anything to her. I didn't delete it either. I just stared at it and thought, this is what it looks like when someone stops hiding because they think you've already surrendered. From that point on, I flipped a switch in my head. I started watching her like she was a stranger who'd broken into my house and was pretending to be my wife. She'd do things like light sage at 7 a.m. and say it was for energetic hygiene, then spend 30 minutes journaling about womb grief in the sunroom while texting Brent with this dumb little half-smile. I started paying attention to what she didn't say. How she never used we anymore unless it was followed by something she wanted to change. We need to sleep in separate rooms for our nervous systems. We should consider conscious uncoupling. We could be better people if we just surrendered our egos. But it was always me who had to bend. I kept collecting. I mirrored her iCloud again. Yeah, I know, but screw it, I needed proof. Not for court. For myself. Because part of me still wanted to believe this was all a misunderstanding, that I was just being dramatic. But no. Her texts to Brent were practically poetry. You make me feel seen. I can't believe I ever thought love was supposed to hurt. You hold my soul so gently. And the one that made my vision go static for a second. Sometimes I wish I'd met you before I married him. I almost threw my phone across the room. But I didn't. I just saved it. Copied it all to a folder, encrypted it, and kept going with my day like I hadn't just read the emotional obituary of my marriage. And still, she would come home and act like we were partners. She'd tell me about Brent's new breakthroughs like I should be proud. She even once said, I feel like you're finally starting to trust the process just because I wasn't confronting her anymore. I nodded and said, yeah, feels like growth. Meanwhile, I was pulling all my paychecks into a new account and removing her as an emergency contact from literally everything, work, insurance, even my gym membership. And the wildest part? She didn't even notice. She was so high on her own spiritual delusion she thought I was finally joining her vibration or whatever. One night, we were lying in bed on opposite sides, barely even touching, and she reached over and put her hand on my chest and said, your heart chakra feels more open lately. I had to bite my tongue to keep from laughing. Then came the retreat. Oh God, the retreat. She told me she'd signed us up for this sacred union reset weekend like it was a couple's massage or something. She dropped it like it was no big deal, it'll be healing for us. Brent is co-facilitating, but it's totally professional. I looked her dead in the eye and said, so you want me to pay to spend 3 days doing breathwork in the same room as the guy you're emotionally cheating on me with? She paused like I'd just said something in another language, then replied completely calm, that's a very limited perspective. I didn't argue. I just said cool. Sounds like fun. Because now I had a date. A deadline. That retreat weekend? That was my escape hatch. While she was off in the forest doing eye-gazing exercises and screaming into a drum circle, I'd be gone. I set everything in motion. I boxed up essentials. Got the lease transferred on a short-term apartment through a buddy who owed me. Started forwarding my mail. Transferred our dog's vet records. Set up autopay on everything I'd need solo. I even made a fake spreadsheet labeled tantric breath sequences and hid my packing checklist inside it. Then 2 days before she was supposed to leave, she broke down crying in the kitchen. Full sobbing. She said, I just wish Brent didn't have a girlfriend. It complicates everything. That was the sentence. Not I love you. Not I'm sorry. That. She said it like I wasn't even there. Like I wasn't the one she married. Like I hadn't been the one holding her through panic attacks 3 years ago when she couldn't even get out of bed. That night, I didn't sleep. I just sat in the living room staring at the walls. Around 4 a.m., I stood up, walked into our room, grabbed my bag, and left. No note. No confrontation. Nothing. She didn't call. Not that night. Not the next morning. Not for 3 whole days. And when she finally did, the first thing she said was, I felt your energy leave. I hope this is what your soul needed. I hung up. So yeah, I didn't block her right away. Honestly, I didn't even know if I was supposed to. I just kind of froze. I remember sitting on the floor of our bedroom, my half-packed duffel bag open next to me, her letter in my hand, wax seal broken like some medieval goodbye ritual, and I just stared at the last line. P.S. I'm pregnant. It's Brent's. We're naming him Ocean. Like that was supposed to soften the blow? Wrap it all up in a pretty, whimsical bow so it wouldn't feel like what it really was, a gut punch. It was so on brand I almost laughed. Ocean. Of course. Couldn't be something normal. Not with her. I mean, we once got in a full argument because I said I thought white sage smelled like burnt rubber. She said I had spiritually colonized taste buds. That's the level we were operating on. Anyway, I didn't reply. What the hell do you say to that? Congrats? Hope your kid floats? I just folded the letter back up, put it in the kitchen drawer with the spare batteries and that one Allen wrench we always lose, and went outside. Walked around the block like 5 times. Didn't even notice it was raining until I felt my socks squish. That first week, I kept expecting her to follow up. Like surely, after nuking our marriage and naming the fallout Ocean, she'd at least send a follow-up text. But nothing. Just silence. And I swear, that silence was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. I didn't sleep. I wasn't eating much either. You'd think heartbreak would come with some kind of dramatic soundtrack, but no, it was mostly me watching reruns of Shark Tank at 3 a.m. while half-eating toast and trying not to check her Instagram. She started posting weirdly fast, by the way. Like, glowing selfies with captions like, letting go is the ultimate love, and pictures of her belly with phrases like, growing more than just a baby, growing into my truth. And Brent? Oh, he was there. Shirtless yoga poses. A video where he's talking to her stomach like, you are the chosen starseed. I wish I was exaggerating. I wish any of this felt real. But that's the thing, I think when people say they feel crazy after a breakup, it's not because they're emotional. It's because they're trying to reconcile how someone they used to split takeout with is now saying shit like jealousy is a colonized emotion. Kept telling myself not to look, not to dig. But I couldn't help it. It was like watching a train wreck, except I was one of the passengers who got thrown off before the final crash. I just needed to see if the flames were still burning. Eventually, I got out of our apartment. Moved in with an old college buddy for a while, Nick. Solid guy. Works in HVAC, smokes too much weed, but he's the kind of guy who always has frozen pizza and doesn't ask questions unless you bring it up first. Honestly? Lifesaver. I remember one night, we were sitting on his balcony drinking cheap beer out of mason jars because his girlfriend took all the glasses when she left, and he just looks at me and goes, "Dude, what the hell happened?" And I just broke. Told him everything. From the first weird dinner to the final letter. He didn't say much, just nodded a lot. Then he said something I'll never forget. She didn't want a husband, man. She wanted a follower. And that clicked something in my brain. Because yay, that's exactly what it felt like. Like the more I tried to be her equal, her partner, the more I was framed as the enemy. Brent wasn't better than me, he was just willing to orbit her ego without asking questions. She didn't want love, she wanted worship. And when I couldn't provide that, I became the villain in her healing narrative. It still hurt. God, it hurt. Watching someone you love mutate into a stranger with your memories in their mouth, it's a kind of grief no one warns you about. It's not like death. There's no funeral. No casseroles. Just long, empty nights where you wonder if you were the crazy one. I started seeing a therapist. Not a holistic coach, not a trauma doula, just a regular, overworked guy named Marcus with a water cooler and a Candy Crush addiction. He didn't try to decode my aura or align my chakras. He just listened. The first time I told him everything, I was expecting judgment. Or at least a raised eyebrow. But he just said, "Sounds like you weren't allowed to have boundaries without being called controlling." And I swear, I almost cried. Because no one had ever said that out loud before. I thought I was just bad at being supportive. Turns out I was just being manipulated under the guise of growth. After a couple months, I got my own place. Nothing fancy, a one-bedroom with creaky floors and a fridge that moans at night, but it's mine. My toothbrush. My couch. My air fryer. I even bought a damn cactus. Named him Kevin. And slowly, the fog started lifting. I stopped checking her socials. Stopped replaying the fights in my head. Stopped wondering if I could have fixed it by being more woke, more patient, more less. Then last week, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It just said, "He's here. Ocean is here. He looks like you." I stared at it for 10 minutes. "No, hi. No, how are you?" Just that. I didn't reply. Because what was that? A guilt trip? A twisted compliment? An invitation to re-enter the circus? Nah. That night I made pasta. Played Skyrim. Slept like a rock. And this morning? I blocked the number. No rage. No sad music montage. Just, done. It's weird. I always thought breakups ended with closure. With big speeches and crying and maybe even makeup sex if you're lucky. But sometimes they end in a whisper. A quiet refusal to participate in someone else's chaos. And honestly, that's enough. This isn't a revenge story. I didn't expose them. Didn't tell her family. Didn't leave nasty reviews on Brent's website, though God, I was tempted. This is just my story. My ridiculous, painful, surreal story. And I'm telling it now because I want someone out there to know it's okay to walk away quietly. It's okay not to win. Not to get the last word. Not to burn it all down. Sometimes the real power move is just leaving. So yeah, that's it. That's the whole thing. No sequel. No plot twist. Just me. A cactus named Kevin. And a lot of quiet. And for the first time in a long time, that's enough. Okay, wow. So, I didn't expect this to blow up the way it did. First off, thanks to everyone who commented or DM'd me. Seriously, I didn't think anyone would care that much about some dude getting emotionally tag-teamed by his wife and her yoga therapist, but here we are. Couple quick things to answer the most common questions I got. No, I didn't respond to her text about Ocean looking like me. I showed it to Marcus, my therapist, and he literally rolled his eyes and said she's fishing for validation. Don't take the bait? So yeah, left her on read. Again. No, I'm not interested in a paternity test. I know some of you are saying I should just to be sure. But look. I was there. I know the timing. I know what I saw, what I tracked. Brent is the father. Ocean is not my problem. Now, the big thing that happened since I posted? Brent reached out. Yeah, him. He emailed me from some weird burner Gmail address like breathworkdruthpath@ or something equally culty. The email had no subject line. Just a wall of text. The gist? He said he felt my pain energetically through the cord, that he wanted to clear any karmic tension and that he was open to a sacred dialogue between masculine energies. I wish I was kidding. He ended it with, "Brother, I release you. May you find your truth and transcend your shadow." I stared at my screen for a full minute, then laughed so hard I scared Kevin the cactus off the windowsill. I didn't reply. What was I gonna say? Thanks for banging my wife and spiritually releasing me? Nah. I forwarded it to Marcus just for the comedy. But then something weird happened. That same night, like, hours later, I got another message. From her. And this time, she called. Now keep in mind she hasn't called me in months. Everything's been through her lawyer or emails with subject lines like regarding storage unit or important tax document. Cold, clinical, business only. I thought she finally got the hint. So when my phone lit up with her name, I froze. I didn't answer the first time. Or the second. I let both go to voicemail. But on the third try, I picked up. And the voice on the other end? It wasn't angry. It wasn't smug. It was small. Scared even. She said, I don't know what he sent you, but I need you to know. I didn't know he was going to do that. I didn't say anything. Just let her talk. She went on to say Brent had started acting weird ever since the baby was born. That he'd gotten possessive, controlling, demanding. That he doesn't let her sleep sometimes. That he gets angry when Ocean cries and won't stop. That he called her a womb failure because she couldn't breastfeed. I swear to God, I just sat there with my mouth open. She said she felt trapped and used and that now she wasn't even sure if he was licensed at all. That the practice he runs is cash only and he has no office, just a loft and a bunch of incense. She said, I think I made a huge mistake. And I just listened. Because honestly, what do you say to that? I wanted to scream. I wanted to say, no **to you made a mistake. I wanted to remind her of everything she put me through every time she made me feel crazy or jealous or less than. But I didn't. Because I didn't trust what she wanted from me. I still don't. And then she said the thing that made my blood run cold. She said, I think he might hurt the baby. That was the moment the switch flipped in my brain. Because look, I may hate her. I may be furious at her. But a baby? An innocent kid? So now I'm talking to my lawyer. And I'm documenting everything. And I'm preparing to make a call I never thought I'd have to make. To CPS. Because if even half of what she said is true, Ocean deserves better. And I'm not letting another Brent walk away untouched. Okay, so, here's where the mask really started to slip and honestly, looking back, I feel like a damn idiot for not seeing it sooner. But I guess that's the whole thing, right? You don't see it until you have to. After I packed the bag and pulled my access from the shared calendar, I didn't leave right away. I wanted to. Every part of me wanted to just vanish, go full ghost. But something held me back. I needed confirmation. Not from her. Not from Brent. I needed it from the universe or whatever part of me still clung to the hope that maybe this was all some big miscommunication. It wasn't. The night that broke it all? She came home late from one of her energy sessions. She had that look again. That glassy, blissed out, over-moisturized glow like she'd been baptized in Brent's damn eucalyptus oils. I was sitting in the dark, TV on mute, just waiting. And she walks in, drops her bag like it weighs 1,000 pounds, doesn't even notice me at first. Then she sees me and goes, oh, you're up. Like she didn't know damn well I was going to be sitting there stewing in it. I said yeah. Wanted to talk. She sighs. Real long. Like I'm already exhausting her. Like the fact that I exist in this house is a burden. She flops on the couch across from me, kicks her shoes off, and stretches like she just ran a marathon of self-discovery. So I said it. I asked flat out, are you sleeping with him? And she doesn't even flinch. Doesn't blink. Just tilts her head and goes, wow. That's the narrative you're choosing. Like that. Like I'm writing fiction. Like I'm the problem. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said, that's not an answer. And she shrugs. Starts scrolling her phone like we're done. Like this whole 9-year marriage just hit a commercial break. That's when something snapped. Not rage. Not heartbreak. Just this cold clarity. This moment of okay, I'm done being the only adult here. I said I saw the receipts. The hotel bookings. The texts. She looks up finally. Her face changes. Not guilt. Not panic. Just annoyance. Like I caught her in a lie about leftovers, not a full-on affair. And she says if you're going to spy on me, at least be honest about what that says about you. I just stared at her. Like, are you serious right now? She starts on this whole monologue about how emotional intimacy is different from physical intimacy and how, if I'd been more attuned to her emotional needs, she wouldn't have needed to seek external support. And I'm sitting there like, you're sleeping with your therapist and this is my fault? But again, I didn't say that. I just listened. Because that's what I do. I listen. I observe. I collect data. And right then, I was collecting the last piece of what I needed. I said, so this has been going on for how long? She gets quiet. Real quiet. Then says, define going on. Like we're playing semantics with betrayal now. I said, you know what? Never mind. I'm leaving. She snorts. You always say that. And maybe I did. Maybe I threatened it before. But this time I meant it. I grabbed the go bag. I walked out. No dramatic exit. No yelling. Just, done. She texted me 2 hours later, I think we both need space to reflect on how we contributed to this rupture. Not, I'm sorry. Not, I love you. Just therapy speak bullshit to make her feel like she's still the enlightened one. I didn't respond. That was a week ago. Since then, she's texted 5 times. Variations of I'm worried about you and Brent says this distancing might be your inner child reacting. I blocked her. And then yesterday, my brother who lives 2 states away calls me up. Says, hey, you doing okay? I say yeah, why? He goes, I got a weird DM from someone named Brent. Says he's worried you're in crisis and refusing help. Asked if I'd check in on you. That's when I lost it. This man is reaching out to my family now. Like he's the concerned party? Like he's some white-robed saint trying to save me from my own unhealed trauma? I told my brother everything. Laid it all out. He said, Jesus? You want me to go over there? I told him no, but I thanked him. And then I realized Brent's not just a therapist. He's a narcissist with a license. So now I'm documenting everything. Screenshots, timeline, paper trail, because if this goes legal, and it might, because apparently she's already trying to claim emotional distress from my lack of support, I want every fact lined up. She's not just rewriting our marriage. She's rewriting me. I'm not going to let her. Final update. It's been almost a year since I packed my bag and walked out. I didn't slam the door or leave a note. Just left. I remember standing in the elevator, gripping my duffel bag like it was the only solid thing left in my life. The hallway smelled like incense. She'd been burning it nonstop for weeks, said it helped her cleanse energy. I never said goodbye. The first month was chaos. I couch surfed with a friend from college, Jason, bless him, didn't ask a single question, just handed me a key and a beer and said, stay as long as you want, man. I wanted to disappear, and for a while, I kind of did. Slept weird hours, lived off energy drinks and cheap takeout, watched trash TV until my brain turned to soup. I couldn't look at another couple's therapy post or breathwork meme without wanting to put my fist through a screen. She reached out, of course. Emails at first. Then a handwritten letter like she was trying to win a goddamn Oscar for most dramatic manipulation. Said she missed my presence, my energy, said she never meant to hurt me. That Brent was never physical and I was projecting wounds from childhood. Like she was still diagnosing me after shattering every boundary we had. I didn't reply. I kept every message, every voicemail. For legal reasons, mostly. But also because a part of me needed to remember I wasn't crazy. That this actually happened. That I didn't hallucinate my marriage turning into a TED Talk from hell. I started rebuilding. Slowly. Got my own place, small, nothing fancy. One bedroom with a view of a brick wall, but it's mine. Started lifting again, not for revenge, just to feel like I exist in my body. Picked up an old hobby, photography. There's something about seeing the world through a lens that helps me reframe things, literally. I'm still in therapy. Real therapy. With someone who doesn't flirt with their clients or talk about sacred chakras mid-session. We don't even talk about her that much anymore. We talk about me. My boundaries. My patterns. Why I let things slide until I couldn't recognize myself in the mirror. She's still with Brent. I know because a mutual acquaintance sent me a screenshot from their new joint Instagram. Yeah. Joint. Healing hearts together kill me. They host retreats now. Workshops. There's one where they teach couples how to transcend traditional monogamy and reclaim sovereign intimacy. I saw a photo of them under a waterfall, eyes closed, forehead to forehead, captioned, 2 souls, 1 journey. It made me laugh. Not the bitter kind. The kind where you realize you finally, truly let go. Like your body's been holding a breath for years and it finally exhales. That's my story, I guess. There's no big revenge moment, no dramatic confrontation. Just quiet freedom. I'm okay with that. I like the quiet now. Thanks to everyone who read or commented along the way. This chapter's done. Time for the next one.